to art crafts. Ms. Larisa, the floor is yours. Good day, everyone. I would like to show you the presentation. That's what the team of the Ministry of Culture and Information Policy made on the topic, in which direction we are moving, what developments do we have already, and how we're going to work them. Our main focus, art crafts, is unique trade offering of Ukraine in the global market. First of all, one of the forms of realization, that is a state policy, that is a national culture program for 21st-25th. Now it is being developed. And let's look at the goal of this program. First of all, that is renewal of the economic model of art crafts, a sector of creative industry, and the realization of the export touristic potential. Besides keeping national traditions, that's how we started to support art crafts. Also, we would like to consider them from these angles. Also, the expansion of the traditional cultural heritage and provision of the sustainable conditions for the development of Ukrainian art crafts to make them modern and popular. Directions of the program. So here there are 4 directions. First of all, it needs renewal of the regulatory framework, as it is rather outdated, and without its renewal we won't be able to start any kind of mechanism to support culture and to create the required condition. Also, it is the development of entrepreneurship skills, popularization of art crafts, making the brands of Ukrainian art crafts more popular, to increase their added value. And which tools are we going to use for these 4 clauses to be implemented? Fairs, festivals, trainings for the masters promo campaigns, other kind of informational campaigns. Also, we would like to foresee micro grants to support them, and also we implemented tagging of art crafts, and also support of the artists through scholarships. Regarding the register, we will discuss it later, but it is very important, let's say, key instrument to do that. And depending on kind of it, they need different kind of support and promotion. It doesn't move. First direction, regulatory framework. As regulatory framework is rather outdated, all legal norms require adaptation. First of all, we need to make a focus on terminology unification, that it is used in the art crafts. The artists of art crafts will be registered in the following way. All of them will be listed after this terminology is adopted. As at the moment we renew our statistical data, we also would like to add the codes of economic activities, also taxes paid, but on the artists of art crafts, first of all, they're individuals, and we need to enlist them. Also, we plan to certify them by the union up to 1,000. Also, we are going to have a code for the activities, handmade artists. That will be another code according to the market evaluation. Also, the issue of keeping art crafts and old workshops that joined people who are doing art crafts and transfer of these traditions to the younger generations. In 80s, for instance, there were 400 workshops. In 2002, 2000, 22,000 in 2000 years, and now we have almost zero. We almost do not have legal entities. We do not have workshops to support those artists to let them make their product. Changes to legislation. First of all, there are changes to the law of Ukraine on art crafts, and there are changes to the regulations of the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine on art crafts, and also it is the making of the new terminology, adding of the list of art crafts, after that the status of art crafts, and legal entities doing them. In the most of territories, there are traditional schools that we need to keep and to transfer them to people who will be managing them. Also, we need register and tagging system to know what kind of artists do we have, to identify them, that, for instance, these artists can make this kind of unique products, not to have situations with copying or fake products. Also requirements to the specification of the art crafts, and also to eliminate outdated clauses of the law. But when this law is adopted, it will be fixed. And also the increase of entrepreneurship skills of the artists. We had seminar for the first artists already, and I think we are going to make this seminar constant, because these pot makers were very happy that they had seminars. They told they really needed them. Also, they need networking. And there will be artists themselves, representatives of the communities, MPs, as you can see. Also, there will be executive and legislative branches of power. Also, the directions we are working on, besides seminars, their registrations as private entrepreneurs to let them sell their products. After that, pricing of the products, tagging, new financial reporting, export, trade at the online marketplaces, marking, grant applications, search for investors, and we will have trainings on that. And in the future, in 1 or 2 years, we would like to see in the reporting economic benefits of what we are doing now. So regarding the training, the first seminar was made already. That's one of the measures to popularizations. Also, we had a fair ethnic is an Ukrainian brand, and Galyna will tell us more about it. Also, we are going to have Expo 2022 in Dubai on the 3rd of October. I'm going to Dubai myself to have a look at our National Day there. And also there will be increase of the number of workshops to increase our cultural heritage. Our ministry collected information on all the regions. I won't give you the full data now, but I'm sure that we are going to have a couple of more meetings for that. What is the situation with this object inclusion to the cultural heritage of Ukraine, and also the formation of the brand of Ukrainian cooperative associations. And there are billions in import, in export, 1.8 million hryvnia. That's the potential of domestic market. The targets of the register, that is the last stage of our activities. We would like to have them in one register that will be available for everyone on the regional and municipal level. So we would know how these items will be identified, and after that we will check what do we have in Ukraine. At the moment, Ukraine doesn't know the exact number of the artists and cooperative associations. That's why we cannot list them. And we need marking to identify concrete products, to know who made it. In this case, we will avoid copying of these products, and in register we can see the authenticity of the goods. System of the registers. First of all, artists. There will be very different artists, the ones that we have in Ukraine. After that, expertise. We will certify the people. They will check in which authentic technique do they work, and based on the evaluation results, they will recommend or not recommend to put it into the list. Also, it will be very different composition of the export. It will be the national units of the art crafters and scientists, and also the artists will be included into the register upon recommendation. I have a question on register. When we are going to have it? Well, it depends on the budgeting. We included these funds into our budget, and we would like to have a separate budget program. And now there is a law 1432, and it foresees the establishment of National Office of Creative Industries that will accumulate all necessary for this kind of work. If we can foresee these funds, at least we applied for them, we will be able to finance this register, and after that we can start marking of the goods and listing of the artists, so on and so forth. You know, the system itself will be clear how we see it. Probably we will change something. For instance, here you can see how the marking will look like, and some graphic symbols as well. To be into the register, you need experts to include people into it. First of all, we have National Union of Artists. Also, we have Union of the Art Crafters. If you're talking about some traditional art crafts, the focus will be on the experts who are in this area already, the ones who know, is it authentic, is it traditional? And as we just started dealing with this issue for the first time, yeah, it was highlighted for a few times in the normative documents, but we cannot say about some stable system of expertise. Just the artists themselves are the carriers of the traditions that we are going to check. And graphic symbols. inclusion to the list of the national cultural heritage and registration of graphic symbols according to the law. That also is very important. Here you can see how exactly we can do it. I just don't want to waste your time and tell you briefly that all of you are drinking sparkling wines, right? Champagne, and Champagne is from the Champagne region in France, and Petrikivka is in Dnipropetrovsk region of Ukraine, and it is a part of Ukrainian cultural heritage, and white embroidery on white Reshetilivska embroidery, all these kinds of cultural heritage are very important as a part of the culture, but also they have some economic significance. And we are doing that to support them and to develop them in the future. Here you can see a map that has been developed by our team, and we would like to show on the map where are the object of this cultural heritage, where they are not included yet. Some art crafts are not included yet, for instance, and probably that's all from me. We are just going to develop art crafts. If you have any questions, I'm ready for them. Yeah, are there any questions? No question. Thank you very much for your presentation. Ms. Galyna? Yeah, probably I will follow then. And could you please put on the screen the presentation about Ethnica Festival? Well, as Ms. Larisa told us already, Ministry is involved into it as well. I will tell you more about how we make art crafts more popular. And also, you remember we talked about the development of entrepreneurship skills of the artists and the seminars that we had in Opishne. Our artists are people of rather traditional habits, and it's a new skill for them, some creative and entrepreneurship cases. And it's a rare case when they discuss it already. That's a very needed direction. We support it and we help them in it. Regarding Ethnica Festival, probably it's one of the most successful cases this year in the area of popularization, because it wasn't just event. It was a wide informational campaign that started before the festival, and we're still in the middle of it. And regarding popularization of different directions, different art crafts, so-called ambassadors were involved. We asked well-known people with many followers on Instagram to make popular art crafts, to make it more modern. As common citizens sometimes think that it's something outdated from the last century, that just regional cultural museums are interested in it.
To have some understanding how modern it is now and how important it is to keep the tradition, and this is the warmth of generations from father to son, from the master to the student. This is what we are too proud with. This is a unique in Ukraine, and thanks God, the traditions do still exist in Ukraine, and we are to develop and nurture and support them. What concerns hutnits and pottery activities, you know, there have been 12 ambassadors for that art craft. Media, they were reflected in the media. we saw this advertisement, and this campaign had more than several thousand coverage. And those ambassadors, besides visual campaign, they visited the festival, they met the masters, and they were discussing how their activities well, look like, and Daria Biladit was there. She is the sportsman. She has to be strong and courageous, and she tested the art crafts there, and found some joint competences. What concerns the festival itself, it took only one day, so we gathered 52 national masters, 12 types of national art crafts, including all types of them, arts. I will show you some photos, how it looked like. And our task was not only to show the whole spectrum of that, but how modern it could be and be integrated into our lives, and how we could use that now. So the first task of ours was to increase sales of those art works. How that could be involved into modern life, into interiors, into fashion, and they were sold in a very active way. And this example, I should say, that has shown that this type of festival has not only the right to live, but it should be repeated every year, and even longer than one day. And then the ministry and those who implement the state policy should attract some businesses to support such kind of things, because popularization is only one way. But these kind of events generate added value when people understand how difficult it is to make it happen, how to learn how to do that. The art craft, it's not done in a factory, it's handmade, it's added value. And understanding how important it is for today. This is the experience I wanted to share with you, and I hope we would continue doing it. So, thank you very much. So we can hope that this festival will become annual, so we introduce it into the budget request. This is because this is the source of funding, so that the government could support us. Hope the Ministry of Finance and our MPs would support it. This is not just an event. This is the whole campaign which attracts people, the entrepreneurs, and make it contemporary, modern. I hope it will be the annual event, and probably even international. Yeah, about that, the international organizations, representatives of embassies want to bring some of the elements of this event to international arena. This is kind of success, and so that it could be shown worldwide, in modern interpretation. Thank you. If you have any questions, please. For Mrs. Galyna. Mrs. Tatyana, the question is for you. To participate in communication with our masters who are the members of the union and who are independent masters. So the main question of this model is in what way we develop in art crafts. Is there a window of opportunities? Thank you very much for this question. Of course, this is the window of opportunity, and I would like to emphasize that last year in November, United Nations said that 2021 was the International Year of Creative Industries, and national art craft is a part of this industry. According to UNESCO, speaks about creative industries as senses and implementation of those senses and commercialization of those senses. And actually, today's reports have proven that this is really so, and one thing that we are yet to learn is how to commercialize that. The Parliament is doing what it can. In order to commercialize it in creative industries, we need to bring some legislative initiatives, to ensure authorship rights. This is very topical for the masters. And we also need to talk, and people still think how to do that. How, in what way it should be introduced into public procurements. The national art crafts and masters, not just to select the cheapest, but to, first of all, that good idea should not be and cannot be cheap. There is something to work on, and if the masters have some ideas what you lack in legislation, we could contact each other and generate some good ideas, and they will be heard. Now I participate in the social project Secrets for You. This is very popular in Ukraine and beyond its borders, and it assumes that we collect interesting information and instruction from masters on what national art crafts do exist. That could be either in a format of a video presentation or a description. The important thing is how a person can transfer its knowledge to any colleges or to other, because, for example, in Zhytomyr Oblast, they do beehives very well, which are hanging in the trees. And that person who does that, he almost the only one in Eastern Europe. His art craft should be described properly and shown. And in this type of competition, we travel around and spoke to the masters, and now we hope that a big book would be published covering all the best art crafts with instructions, and it would be distributed through SMM and in other words. And to your mind, what perspective things are of the art crafts which previously were considered lost? For example, beehives making, that's one thing. For example, I'm a person from the Soviet Union. We were making some some art crafts, kindergartens. So from the paper, resembling the snowflakes. So they, that was kind of very beautiful things. It was Lemkis Vitinanka, it was called in Ukrainian. And maybe it's time to give the floor to my colleague, because the parliament of this convocation tries to listen to us, to the masters, and to provide some new type, new blood, new fresh approach, support of the creative industries. And during the pandemic, of course, this sector suffered the most. But still there is understanding in the government and in the parliament that the creative industries in the whole world bring huge amount of revenues, and it is not right not to use that in Ukraine. In Ukraine, there are plenty of historical sites. Of course, when tourists come, people want to buy something for memory, and these art crafts would be very to the point in this case. Do you have any questions for Mrs. Tatyana? Mrs. Oksana, giving the floor to you as the most, having the greatest authority, who knows what the national art crafts is, and who sees art crafts every day of their life. Are we going to have renaissance in this? Good day, everybody. So I do agree with Marina, because the whole life of mine is related to art crafts. My first education, I'm the ceramic pottery developer, and I'm doing this all my life. And then I decided, I graduated from the art crafts faculty and do research in the art craft the whole my life. Unfortunately, Mrs. Galyna has left. I have alternative thoughts to what was said before, how such events should be held, and I do really think that such museums and fairs that held by us should exist. Parallel to that, there should be some things, such events as Ethnica. This is the presentation, annual presentation, in order to make it working, to make them develop. There should be every day, every minute platform, and the day after tomorrow there will be a forum. Everyone who wishes are welcome. And one of the discussion platforms to be held at 12 o'clock, in which Marina will be one of the speakers, is called the Ethnic Art and Non-Material Heritage as a Basis for Creative Industries. Well, first we thought that it should be as part of that, and then we thought the basis of creative industry, this is the non-material heritage. For example, now I can see shoes. They're very nice. But if you look and analyze our ethnic shoes, you can find an aircraft master who was inspired by this style. And whatever we buy, you can see that it was based on something. The ethnic non-material heritage, this is the basis, this is the foundation. It has the right to live. But whatever is built without the basis is evading very quickly, and then it doesn't exist. And tomorrow we are going to speak about that. We will confirm that with the concert. Therefore, I invite you all. We will have jazz improvisation by melange, and then followed by a nice Corelli group from Ivano-Frankivsk, and it will end up with the 1-hour folk rock group. And you will see Cossack system, and TIK will also perform, because all of them are based on the folk basis. Speaking about the ethnic art crafts, I'm careful to the initiatives from the government because it is important to assist, but not to hamper. And Tatyana asked the right question. What criteria it will be for those marking or labeling? Who will be the judges of that process? Who will do that? First of all, we need to elaborate some understanding. Who should assess them? Who should say that this is the real art craft and that is not? And also we need to segregate meanings of ethnic art crafts and masters. So the art crafts will always be there because this is the nature of people. That was the initiation. But the art crafts are evading, and they do need support from the state. And here I address this issue to you as an MP, and those issues are to be resolved, discussed, because the ethnic art crafts is the center linked to the location. And by developing the ethnic art crafts, the government will do the right contribution to development of the economy, because if the ethnic art craft is developing, we start thinking of logistics, of roads, of hotels, of restaurants, and so on and so forth. By creating a huge amount of new job places, you know, the tourism development and so on and so forth. And in this way, economy of the country is developing and the country becomes successful, and the government should be interested in developing the ethnical art crafts. It's good for any country to have those interesting things, as Ukraine. Ukraine is very diversified territorially and by ethnics, and it has a lot of ethnic and art crafts.
And to wrap up, well, like 10, 7, 8 years ago, there was such a case. You know, there was a hearing in the parliament, and we gathered there, and Saakashvili was speaking, and I was impressed by his words. But what do you do exactly When I was a president, they told me that there is a stone in the mountain. Someone died next to this stone, or probably some love story was involved. And straight away, a huge legend was made around this stone. After that hotel, after that staircase to this stone. After that, there is some fence for the people in love to put locks. And he said, but your country is so rich, you have so many hidden treasures, you just need to reveal them. And we really need state support to do that. And that is the request to Tatyana as a MP. It's not a question, but a task to Tatyana, as we need to think about it as well. And you know, this year, committee in Verkhovna Rada, culture committee, they put a lot of attention to the arts events. For instance, at the same forum, half of committee, headed by Poturaev, will be at this forum. And the second half will go to have a look at the river transport routes. Well, everyone will go, minister and all. Everyone should be here from the very morning. And you know that's very good indeed, as when there is some communication element. I wanted to show you the photo of our minister making pots. Why? Because he came to us with a visit on business, but it was a weekend, so he came with kids and he asked for master class for his kids. And we made one. It was a master class on clay pot, and you know, 2 hours after they were there still making the pots, and after that he made a very beautiful pot, and he was so inspired, so involved into the process because it was something new for him. That's why master classes are very important in promoting the training, promoting art crafts. I hope, girls, that you never embroidered in your life, right? But after your first embroidery is ready, and you can ask Marina, that was her way. If you try do it yourself, you know, you cannot imagine how wonderful it is as you put a part of your soul into it. That's why Ukrainian embroidery is so popular all over the world. And white on white embroidery, it's not just Reshetilivka. It's all Ukraine. In every region you can find white on white embroidery. But can you see what Reshetilivka did? They did it all over Ukraine, but Reshetilivka said that they were doing that, and now it is a brand.
Цього року їздила в Косів і дивилася, що означає, яким важливим є внесення до нематеріальної культурної спадщини.
You know, and also this year I had an experience with the UNESCO Cultural Heritage List. And I could see, as in the case with Petrikivka, as in the case with Kosi, at the moment Opishnya started developing, and it's also important as first of all, it develops economics of Ukraine. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Oksana. If you have any questions, we are ready for them. There are no questions. Thank you very much indeed for your attention. Thank you very much for taking part in our first panel on art crafts. And now we have a break.
Доброго дня.
Good day, dear guests. Let's carry on our model on art crafts. And now we are going to have our second panel on digitalization of our sector, how pandemic influenced to art crafts, how did we move online if we did, do artists and industry in general use it, and how quickly it helps to implement creative ideas and on the goods they are producing. And also we will discuss the survival of the institutions, museums in particular, museums working with art crafts. And today our speakers are Evgenia Kravchuk, who is a member of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, deputy head of the Committee on Humanitarian Information Policy, expert in communications and media consulting. Also, Ms. Lyudmila Strokova is with us. She is the general director of the National Museum of Ukrainian Folk Decorative Art. Also, she is a honorable employee of the Ukrainian culture. Elizaveta Miroshnichenko, Secretary General of the Handcrafts Chamber of Ukraine, board member of WCC Europe, member of the Hanseatic Parliament, representative of SME United in Ukraine. And also we have one representative of art craft sector, Ivan Bobkov, who is a ceramist, sculptor, member of the National Union of Artists of Ukraine, member of the National Union of Folk Artists in Ukraine. And today we are going to discuss this topic. Evgenia, probably the floor is yours. Well, I would like to listen to the colleagues first. Probably I'll tell you what our committee together with the ministry is doing for art crafts. And for the last few months, we've been to Opishnya, to Clay Pot Museum, and we had a meeting with representatives of the industry. We discussed that not just strategy is needed, but detailed, comprehensive program. And we touched upon some digital topics as well. For instance, the establishment of the register that should be not just a table with artists, but convenient web tool for mobile devices, where it would be possible to find on the map of Ukraine what can be bought. And the task of the state here is to help with the realization of the goods and a check. It's not a kind of license, but a kind of green tick, like in Facebook, you know, like in Facebook and Instagram, the one that confirms that you is you, and that's your official page. And we would like to have the same for the art crafters. For instance, Borshivska embroidery, that is a part of non-material heritage of Ukraine. It is in the list of the heritage, and I was at the festival in Borshevo some time ago, bought three more vyshivankas of different artists. You know, the artists themselves are ready to go to digital. And you know, when I've been to Borshevo, I met a young guy. He's an artist himself. He works with wood, and he sells his products in Instagram, and we are friends already. I ordered some some Christmas gift from him. very nice wood toys for the for the Christmas tree, and I asked him, "Can you make a living by selling in Instagram?" He told me, "Yes, we invested into advertisement. You know, before we invested just 100 hryvnia, and it was a problem for us when they were not returned. But after that, we've seen that they do return, and we work in such a way after that. Yeah, the volume of his goods is not big. That's why it's enough for him. But still, there are some examples when artists go digital and work only on the web platforms or social media. But you know what I think? He is just 30, right? But if he would be 75, for instance, he wouldn't sell through Instagram. Well, probably if he had a grandson and he would help him, yeah, it would go. But still, I think that is the role of state support to give this push forward to show how does it work. That there are lists of different art crafts on some portal that would be interested to them. And also it is connected closely to tourism, because when you go to different parts of Ukraine, you do not want to buy the same souvenirs everywhere. They should be different. And in Opishna, for instance, I bought a glass craft for wine. And I could use Apple Pay there. It wasn't even debit card, but Apple Pay. Can you imagine? And I was able to do it. That the museum is ready to be more user-friendly for clients. That's why now we are opening the boring part of our panel, legislative framework for the art crafts, together with the Ministry of Culture. But also it is a unique chance for Ukrainian internal and external tourism. And why it is important now? As Western Europe already lost this craft. They are en masse already, they are not handmade anymore, or they are just lost. We haven't lost it yet, and now we have a chance not just to keep them in museums, but to expand them. And I studied the experience of different countries, Balkan countries, for instance, and they had different support programs for art crafts, British experience as well, and all of them are saying that it's not enough to see these crafts in the museum. It's very important to have a possibility to buy them. And also the conditions should be created for the carriers of art crafts. And in some crafts, the number of these people is tiny. There are just a few families making some goods. There should be possibility to transfer this talent to the future generation. Thank you.
Перший.
Well, probably Ms. Ludmila will share experience on museums and foundation digitalization, will tell us more about her project, what was done in this direction. Please. Good afternoon. You know, regarding the museums, lockdown became a huge challenge for the museums. We are not a store, we are not a pharmacy, we cannot go online. We are losing our audience, and if we lose them, we are being forgotten as museum doesn't make exhibitions and projects anymore and just disappears from the public view. That is why
і активізуватися в тих умовах, в яких ще ми і не
we should be
маємо
flexible
певних фахівців в
and
музеях,
change
тому
something in
що
the conditions when we do not have specialists in this area in the museums. They are not foreseen by the mailing lists.
вже професії, щоб нам забезпечити.
We do not have the representatives of digitalization specialities.
Становище і покращити
But what helped us?
кількість шанувальників на
How we could increase the number of fans in our museum? We managed to do it thanks to the grant project that we created with the support of Ukrainian Cultural Foundation. It was the 100th anniversary of Ukrainian painter Katerina Bilokur, and we created a book, but it was a book with the VR. There were live pictures in this book, and we wanted to popularize it online, and we wanted to complete this project not with the funds of Ukrainian Foundation, but with the exhibition of Ekaterina Bilokur heritage. You know, this book, making this topic more popular, should make the future exhibition more popular. For instance, project in Ukrainian Foundation is completed by exhibition in museum just starts, and it was called Life in the Hugs of the Flowers. And this offline presentation became impossible for us. Well, what museum should do with this book? How to make it popular? But, you know, it was in grant application already, and we didn't expect we needed more money for advertisement, but at least we managed to do something, as we made a design in Facebook of the project page. Also, we filled in our Facebook page with information about Katerina Bilokur. We made a few videos with our artists, director, representatives of other creative professions, those people who were involved on some stage to making the art of Katerina Bilokur more popular. All that was published in social media. And we had some small advertisement budget. The targeting was paid. And you know, we had 3 times more subscribers of the page thanks to these activities. And when we applied for a grant, you know, when we moved from offline to online, we transferred 500 participants of the online presentation. Well, but you know, 500 was just a nice round number because we were sure that they won't come, but they did. We had 1,600 people online. Well, I do not know how many minutes they watched it, but that is a fact. And after that, 1,500 watched a record of it. And so it was successful. And then, when the exhibition was made, the digitalization, made another step. So those people who made VR, they paid themselves for continuation of the project. They expanded it to their own platform. And during the exposition, you could see these pictures in VR. And as it's known, in 1957 there was a huge exhibition of Ukrainian arts in Paris, where the masterpieces of Ekaterina Belokur were presented, and two of them were not returned to Ukraine. Well, we do not know why. There are some very funny explanations of the main curator of Louvre. He said that just during dismantling they noticed there are no two pictures. Well, it's a fun explanation. I do not think they were stolen. It was during Soviet times. And we used this story, and in the advertisement of the exhibition we were saying that for the first time, thanks to the new technologies, these two lost pictures will be presented. And you know that was a kind of an intriguing trick, especially for young people. You know, we called it ghost picture. Can you imagine? We just painted as it was, and after that you download an app, and with the help of your mobile this ghost becomes vivid.
So in other words, we retained some pictures, colored pictures of those paints. So this is what we have attracted to, and then we survived during the pandemic and quarantines when the museum didn't work. We developed two virtual reality projects of two workshops, which were telling it was the series of videos and photos and graphic, various types of materials, embroidery and about art, painting and master classes. So all these activities were going on in social media, and we got our followers in that area. Kyiv UA TV channel has helped us in that, which was using us for their commercial purposes in town of Vasilkiv. They developed some 10 to 15 videos from 1 minute to 1.5 minutes. And in the embroidery Vyshyvankas of Kyiv region. All of that was used during the pandemic in the social media. Also, thanks to Belokur's project and our exhibition, that life embraced by flowers, we created the gallery of Katerina Belokur with virtual reality, added reality, so that because she works abroad as well. That was our first museum project for creation of exposition in the virtual world. As of today, in the next Friday, we will present the project of online museum, which is called DNA of Ukrainian embroidery avant-garde. Now that's going to be a project with a small 3-day exhibition, which would present works by Hanna Sobachka-Shostak, Yemina Pshichenko, those are the works from avant-garde and modern from the 20s of the last century, which were created for the embroidery artists, for developing of wallpapers and pillows, and many works of that sort were shown in Paris at the exhibition in 1915, and now this project is restored, and the artworks would be presented during the project presentation. The original and the embroidery created by the artists today, and we will work with online museum and popularize this subject matter in order to come out to the international horizons, in order to popularize this art craft abroad in exhibition projects too. Now also we have signed the agreement and are waiting for the 3D shootings of some of our expositions to be shown on a special platform. So far I signed an NDA. I'm not going to tell you about that now. They will be presented there so that the products could be sold so that people could buy them worldwide. Now we are developing the 3D excursion around the museum, and we also work on some subjects for the social media, and we developed a new design for our social media pages, and in our plans we creation of various videos by subjects. So there are plenty of plans, but the painful issue is funding. What we can pay to people prevents us to attract IT people who could earn some good money elsewhere, but not in our museum. But the volunteers are not as willing to work with museums. So for the museums, this is a great challenge. But we are trying to find ways out, because without that, the Ukrainian folk art is not popular among Ukrainian. So in the West it is more popular, but in Ukraine it is not known, it is not liked. Only some motivated individuals are involved here, and our task is to adhere to develop the young people in national folk art and attract them to our museum. But like it or not, we are on the right way, and through digitalization we are on the right way to do so, and we will attract followers of this art. And as of today, our audience, our social media cover more than 1 million people. For that, during this year, as of today. Ludmila, you have outlined a very interesting case and successful IT companies working with Ukrainian Museum and implementation of interesting projects. So we are waiting for proposals open to cooperation, ready to work if somebody is interested. And you know, we had experience when designers were coming to us. They were saying that take me to the payroll in order to get some peanuts that we can pay. I would be interested to work to implement myself, and the person has worked for 2 months, and we then parted because that person, the designer, he said he was not ready to such format of work. Because we also want to modernize Ukrainian folk art. We want to do rebranding of our museum. But the way of perceiving the traditional art, so you know, some embroidery, some old stuff in the museum, it's not interesting, it's not modern, but young people. But what concerns the digitalization, we did make the movie about this project. It was a very interesting project. It was called Human Time and Environment. And we attracted a modern artist. We branded artist. Non-traditional artists in traditional Ukrainian museums. They were bringing their artworks. They were selecting the hall for their work to be depicted. And we were providing them those premises. And you can, it was, the outcome was perfect. It was extraordinary. Those artists themselves did not expect that their abstract works would become parts of these traditional arts. So we have branded modern artists in Ukraine known abroad. They are ready to cooperate with the museum further. And when we arranged finissage, and we showed them the moving that was shot during this project, and they saw artworks of each other and how that was implemented in time and environment. They were very positive to that, and they saw that the traditional art could well be cooperated with. Because their art is part of their genetic code, artistic genetic code. They have seen that, and they supported that. We could attract something else, something like social media, some videos, some to make it live, to make it more agile. Thank you. Now, to conclude, we will give the floor to Ivan as a live representative, not the old one, from this sector. Ivan, I'd like to listen to your thoughts about digital in life and in life and artists of non-contemporary art. Non-contemporary and contemporary, you know, this is quite a philosophical issue. So I will not be overcoming the specialist from the museum. You know, there are a lot of questions. There are many subjects, problems. And if the situation with COVID has stricken everybody a great deal, then the situation with ethnic art crafts and being the artists of in ceramics, in pottery, it drags a lot of costs, lots of resources and territories, and sales or implementation of your artwork and yourself. And it has always been difficult, and we would never become rich by doing that. Speaking about bad things, but speaking about positive things, you know, COVID or non-COVID, you know, I maintained the same level of living. However, I traveled the world, around the world, before quarantine and after quarantine. Then the time flies. We received modern technology, some gadgets, platforms, and when the pandemic came, we really needed that. So the pottery is one thing, but communications should appear and before unpleasant events of COVID. You know, through the negative comes something positive. So some followers, some new friends emerged, partners, and so on during the COVID pandemics, and artists and ceramic artists. I received some partners, and because when you look for the followers, you start working, cooperating with them. You cooperate with them during times when everything is okay, and also during times when not so okay. And then COVID comes in, and we start looking for the implementation platforms. Of course, those were online and only online, and our joint negative thing, which united us, and we started getting together and looking for instruments for implementation and realization of our individual art and collective art. And during the 2 years, you know, first year, nobody knew what to do. You know, the Zoom popped up. You know, nobody knew who to refer to and what to do with that. Because I'm not only the artist, but also a teacher. I had to teach online. And then students started relaxing, and the kids started forgetting what the art is in the first year. But in the second year, those who wanted, and myself, I was the one who wanted, so we did some homework, and we developed all the online moments, and we started eliminating drawbacks. Some programs were found, some video presentations and lessons were, you know, some hand sending, mass sending. And finally, we started making something. Myself, as a person who works with hands, I should put off my professional activity, but get involved in visualization of my art. You know, for me it is difficult to sit in internet because I need to work. And inspiration, you've got to catch it. Some things started to come out as a result. We need to finally end it, and we should come to some art festivals and some projects, because I'm really longing for that. It's very difficult to exist in the virtual world, but if that is required, we will do that. I know that we were in the US, and you communicated with some specialists there. Do they have the same problems with digitalization, or did they transfer some experience of theirs? Yes, I communicated at Folk Art Market in Santa Fe, New Mexico. The art craft masters gather there, and the mayor's office fund this event and do some information support. So this year it was split into two parts, and I participated in the second part for 550 people in each. So from the whole world. And this is a principal moment that the artists were coming from the whole world. And their representatives and journalists were asking about Ukraine. There were some video conferences. And they asked the same question, how you survive during pandemic. I was asking them this question. They were asking me this question. If it is difficult for us, then in the US, it's virtually ruined, especially in Indian reservations. This is the jewelry, ceramics, artworks, embroidery, and the like. They didn't say me the numbers, but there have been lots of losses. I participated in two ceramic workshop activities after school for the adults. So the workshop of these kind of artists were empty because all the artists died long ago. So in this sense, the situation in the US is terrible. And in Ukraine, it does still exist. So we took off our masks, but in the US, it is very strict to communicate. Yes, everything was controlled, and gathering was prohibited, and the economic part of that activity suffers. It was difficult to get there. So in the US, it is very strict because they are afraid of iterating this pandemic. So galleries work online. Everything was closed. They've got internet resources. For example, the center of the city contains lots of galleries. Many of them are oriented to folk art. Also, there are some souvenir shops. They work on one online resource. And if a person wants to buy something, a tourist or a local guy, they have the right of this digital support. But very strict, total online.
We had the possibility. Well, I'm not talking about last year, I'm talking about this year, to go out to see these tourists in Western Ukraine. There were 4 festivals while I was in America. People could feel the fresh air, at least for some time. They didn't have such possibilities. They were worried about us, that the lockdown killed us completely. plus our northern neighbor with Donbass. They were afraid we don't have anything, but I told them that we do have a lot of things, paintings and ceramics and other crafts. So I proved that we are still here. Yeah, it is complicated, it's challenging, but we can do it. That's how we work. And you know, I was listening to the museum case, and I'm a tutor myself. And for a long time already, I'm fighting with these kids. I'm teaching in the high school, and it's not popular among them. For 20 years, I'm fighting with them already. I have perfect graduates, and they're in love with their craft, but I need to put extra efforts for these results. Yeah, I understand that I'm very passionate about my craft, and I do not understand how it's possible not to love it. Because I have so much knowledge, I can give you all that. And for 2 years, I'm just making them to love the craft. And what is the most interesting here? For instance, I'm an artist covered in clay, but in my phone there are 5 or 6 super portals, TikTok as well. Well, so we are already in digital, but first make something for us. And you can go digital at any moment, and that's what you should do. So they need 2 years to be in love with craft, and after that they see that the state is not interested in all that. And a lot of people are hyping, they're using scandals. So, you know, like these 2 pictures of Ekaterina Bilokur, they couldn't be on fire, right? They're somewhere lost in Louvre. And you know, today I also came from teaching. Well, we do not seem to be the painters. And they say we are not artists, and I tell them, what do you mean you're not artists? You are artists. Still, the craft is a part of the art. It is a folk art market, folk art festival. Why did you decide that it wasn't an art? But it's a clay, they say. That's what we are fighting. You know, lockdown, that's something clear that everyone knows what is it. We went online, after that we will come back to offline. I'm going to keep on working because that's what I want. But for younger generation, we need to make it popular. We need to make it cool. And then lockdowns won't be dangerous for us. And there are fans, I'm one of them. Any questions to Ivan? Thank you very much for your presentation, Ivan. If there are no questions, then I would like to give the floor to Елизавета. And we have Елизавeta's presentation. Well, you know, due to the activity of our organization, we have more focus on the crafts in general. That's why here you will see the research that we made together with a few European countries, digitalization and impact of COVID-19 to the crafts and SME sector of crafts. And we can see some obvious consequences of digitalization. For instance, for some companies it wasn't actual, but today it is a fact even for crafters that digital businesses are better prepared for social and economic challenges, that it helps entrepreneurs to get access for bigger number of markets, and they are more competitive even in the competition with large companies. Digitalization stimulates innovations and promotes services that can help businesses in their daily tasks and create new services in new activities. Also, it's very important that crafters and companies doing with craft understand the important role of digitalization and to have a possibility to bring this importance to policymakers. Regarding research itself, that was a survey. We got 768 answers, and such countries and Belgium, Spain, and Ukraine took part in the survey, and our goal was to have a look at the present situations that we have for SME crafters, and what can we see. There were top answers from all the participants. The main challenges are loss of the profit, cancel of the orders, transfer to digitalization. Well, it's not an opportunity, but a challenge for crafters. Access to the support, cancellation of the events, and interruptions of education or trainings. And I'll give you examples of a few countries that offered concrete measures to support SME and crafters. The first case is from Belgium, Wallonia, that offered significant support to the crafters, but the criteria were strict. According to these criteria, it should be the only one kind of profit for the crafter. But if it is just hobby or some side activity, or if it's not full-time job, the support was not foreseen. The next country is Spain. The government of Spain had two kinds of grants to support freelancers and companies. First one guarantees easier access to credits, and second, help with the digitalization. But in Spain, in the majority of regions, there were other kinds of supports. For instance, in Catalonia, two programs were developed. First one to renew craft societies, and another one, the support of municipalities on art crafts. In Galicia, free training on online sales and digital marketing was offered. In Valencia, they helped art crafters who stopped their activities or shortened it for more than 75%. The next country is Denmark. Our colleagues from Danish Association of Crafts and Design informed that 85% of their members suffered from COVID-19. Finding support foresees the support from the Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Industry, Business and Finance. Also, Danish Fund of Arts opened a new possibility of financing for initiative connected to the new communications for crafts and arts projects in the conditions of COVID-19. Regarding our organization, at the end of 2019, we joined our efforts with 8 countries: Spain, Italy, Netherlands, Great Britain, Ireland. And with the help of Creative Europe, we are implementing the following projects. The first project is almost completed, and we are preparing for the second course. The first one is CBMS, that was made in collaboration with the leading business school MIM. And we decided that the situation in Ukraine is so challenging that the new new knowledge on business. And we decided to make this free school every year. And we use unique British methodology. It is called Hot House, and it works in Britain for more than 10 years already. It was adopted by the teachers of business school, and it provides transformation tools to the enterprises to make their business more successful, for their development in the local market, to enter the international market, and also to enter global digital communities. That was the first project. I think that the next month we are going to make a new recruitment. I think that this year it will be online as well, but in the future we would like to have it offline. As for us, for creative people, it's very important to have a possibility to meet, networking. And online format allowed us to involve the participants from the cities of Kramatorsk, Dnipro, Kherson. A lot of cities had a possibility to be trained at the same time. Next project. It is called iAtelier. That's also a new format for Ukraine. That is a kind of industrial practice to combine traditional industrial practice with innovative tools. And also within this project, there is a collaboration with digital designers and crafters. They are combined to pairs or triples, and with the help of hack labs, hacking spaces, they create project proposals, and with the help of these hub labs, they make them. Well, from the very beginning, we thought it's more for young people, but at the moment, the age of our participants is 45 years. That's why that's very interesting. And our colleague from Slovakia had an example of a teacher who is over 70. And there are some innovative tools like 3D printer or laser cutter. And today he is sharing his knowledge with younger generation. So the goal was to involve younger generations, but in every country it went its own way. That is the iAtelier project. We just started it this spring, and now we are on the project proposal. We work with Fabricator closely to implement the project, and we want to present it till the end of the year to our European colleagues. And another very required direction, research. It will investigate the perspectives of the art crafts in Europe. European Union countries recognize huge potential of art crafts for the economic growth. And now we work with the company, giving us consultations on the methodology of such research. As for the time being, we do not have enough data. Art craft sector is very different from one country to another one. So in this research, we will define the sector, its changes, taking into consideration digital technologies. Also, the studying of the main problems, definition of the strategies, and the way to presentation of the strategy to policymakers, covering the market and expansion of the strategies. Research is planned from 2022, and here you can see another direction, that is a beta version, digital platform that is called We Create UA. That is a platform created for the crafters, experts, business partners, where you can see a partner make a collaboration, create some innovation business business unions, and also we recruit people for our new project as we receive a lot of requests from other organizations regarding exhibitions, exchange programs, because art crafts in European countries, most probably they mean traditional craft, contemporary craft, innovative digital craft as well. That's why we have a lot of requests, and we decided to create a tool for direct communication with crafters, producers, and to use it for recruitment for our schools and exhibitions with our partners. And our goal to create a creative environment of Ukraine. That's it. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much. Any questions? We just need to walk the talk. That's it. Well, you know, today I met Larisa Demska. She's the head of some Ukrainian language agency, and we decided to work out on Ukrainian languages without Anglicism, without bureaucratic cliché, because I could see from the face of Mr. Ivan that he was shocked by this kind of language. I think that we need to use some other common language discussing these things. So I think the more Ukrainian terms we will find, the more crafters we will have at the end. I loved Marina's idea to involve IT specialists to our collaborations because they should have these patriotic feelings to stay in Ukraine. You know what? When we discussed Ethnica Festival, they had a few directions, and every direction had a representative, a kind of guardian angel. Some well-known people became those guardian angels. For instance, there was some cook. I'm sorry, I do not remember his surname very well. Alina Pash was representing Vyshyvanka, for instance.
And I was among people who were known leaders of thoughts to show that this is fashionable, this is interesting and cool. And I think that while you are speaking about museums, before COVID, we went to Great Britain, St. Elizabeth Museum, the Arts Museum. They have just extraordinary gift shop. And I remembered that we maybe Van Gogh exhibition was demonstrated there, but they sold such bags that you showed here. They sold it for £1 million only. With regards to souvenirs, I would add, speaking about the budget of the musician, we can only sell products when we did it at our own cost, but not at the budget money. Whatever we invested, this is what we earned. And as I said, that Ukrainian folk art is not quite welcomed or liked in Ukraine. We couldn't say that people are standing in queues to get to museums. You know, we should get to level of Van Gogh. Probably within 1 week, we would overcome our annual budget threefold. So We are trying to develop some literature, handouts, magnets, and prices are set to make them accessible for Ukrainians, for plain citizen. But still, it is not going so smooth and so well. I can promise that we started working on legislation which simplifies these distribution activities and not only just magnets and also art crafts, artworks, but the master should become a private entrepreneur, because we cannot sell products from masters, but the masters don't want to pay taxes, and therefore we do not take their products from them, because we cannot sell their products in our museum. This is very good examples of support you have shown, but the government could only support those who can see. But if the artist cannot be an individual entrepreneur, the government doesn't see him or her. Dear colleagues, I think that for today, if you don't have any comments or questions, we would finish our module. It was the first one, and it was first that this subject was announced at such format, and we would wait for your feedback. See you soon.